Hello crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. The colour I've used for this one is the new Flirty Flamingo, and the colour I'm going to use today is Watermelon Wonder. So the card pieces you're going to need: card base in Watermelon Wonder that measures 8 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches, which is 21 by 14.5 centimetres, scored and folded in the middle. A piece of Whisper White, which measures 4 inches by 5 5/8 inches, which is 10.25 by 14.25 centimetres. A piece of Affectionately Yours Specialty Designer Series paper, which measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/2 inches, which is 10 by 14 centimetres. Another piece of Watermelon Wonder, and this measures 1 1/2 inches by 5 inches, which is 3.75 by 12.75 centimetres. A piece of Whisper White, which measures 1 3/8 inches by 5 inches, which is 3.5 by 12.75 centimetres. And you need some Whisper White for the flowers. So the first thing we're going to do is to adhere these two top layers together. I'm going to use Tombow. You can use your preferred adhesive, SNAIL or Fast Fuse. Oops, that's coming out a bit fast. Right, have I got something that I can blot this on? Certainly don't want that much glue. That's better. There we go, that's good. Right, I'm just going to put that to dry. Now I'm going to do this piece, and this is for the banner. Now I've used my Stamp-a-ma-jig to help me with this, but first of all I'm going to put this on my grid paper, and I'm going to start by putting a little bit of snail on there, and then just touch it 2 or 3 times with my finger to take the worst of the stickiness off. Then I'm going to line it up so that it's nice and straight with my grid lines here. Now, this is my Stamp-a-ma-jig, all primed. The stamp set I'm using is Confetti Celebration, and this is the stamp I'm using. And the way I do this is, first of all, I line up right at the edge here, and as I'm lining it up, first of all I make sure it's at the edge and then nicely positioned between the top and the bottom. Once I'm happy that I have that right, then I look at the position of my plastic onto my grid paper, and this looks as if it's going downhill slightly as it goes down that way. So I know that from the next 2 images I've got to make sure I've got this sort of alignment, and then I know that it all will line up beautifully. I'm using Watermelon Wonder ink. There we go, that's the first one. And now the second one. Just give that a quick little dry. Now again, I'm having a look to make sure that this has got approximately the same sort of downhill run that it had before. And the other thing that I'm looking for is the top of the B lines up with the top of the Y there, okay, those two there. So then once I've done that, I have a look at it overall just to make sure that I'm happy that I've got this positioned right, and yep, that should be right. So do the second stamp. Moving. Right, let's try that again. So I've lined the B up with the Y. Make sure I've got my little bit coming downhill. Not that much. That's about right. Right, now let's see if we can do this without moving. The ink is probably still wet enough, but I'm not going to take any chances. There we go. And then the last one, I'm just going to bring a little piece of scrap paper in, just to line it up under there. You know, I don't like working on dirty grid paper. So the next thing is to line this one up. Make sure the B is lining up with the Y. Make sure that that looks as if it's coming downhill, which it doesn't at the moment. And that looks as if it might be too much. I've moved that. Right, okay, now that looks good. Just make sure I've got it up the right way. There we go. I'll put the ink away for the time being. We will need it for the flowers. Let's remove that from there. So what I do is I use my clear Wink of Stella pen and I just colour inside all the letters. This really doesn't need to be perfect. If you haven't tried these Wink of Stella pens, I really do recommend that you do. They are absolutely superb. You also find that with some colours, the colour will actually bleed. It certainly does with, what did I use earlier? Rich raspberry. So it made the insides go a bit pinky, which really is quite nice. I did think that this might bleed a bit as well. I just assumed that it was like the darker, brighter colours. Does that make sense? I don't think it does it? The brighter colours, rich bright colours, that's what I meant to say. Nearly there. Right, and I also do just a little straight line underneath these straight lines. Again, I'm not worrying too much about being perfect. There we go. So now I'm going to adhere this onto this piece. Again, I'll use Tombow. A snail or fast fuse will work. Right. In fact, I think that looks as if it has gone slightly orange in the flowers. The lights are very bright for me here, so I can't really see properly. I can see too well. Right, let's bring that back in again. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this a little time to dry, because we need to put it on like this and then cut the edges off. A lot easier if you have used snail or fast fuse, but I've got wet glue in there, so I want to do my flowers first, just give that a little bit of a chance to dry. Now with the flowers, there is a punch to punch these ones out, but this one has to be fussy cut. So I have already prepared all of mine, but I'm going to do one of these and one of these to show you the process. So the flowers come from Grateful Bunch, which is this. That's the three that have the punch, and this is the one that has to be fussy cut. So when you do this, make sure that you stamp with the little flower up at the top, and then it will fit into the punch nicely. And then with the large flower, that is just going to be cut out by hand. Okay. As I say, I have already done all of these, but I do want to show you the way I do it. Right, so this gets punched out. You line all three flowers up in here. Now quite often my wrist struggles with this. There we go. Whoops. So that's those. And the way I cut the large, oops, that's not very clever, is it? The way I cut out the large flower is I go all the way round, cutting on one side of each petal, and I leave a small white gap as well. This really is quite easy to do, but I do know that a lot of people don't like fussy cutting. Okay, I'm not going to make you watch me do all of this. I don't know how many petals I've done, but okay, so we'll say, stop there, cut that bit off, that wasn't very straight. Okay, and then I come back the other way and cut on the opposite side of the petal, and it should just drop the little bit in between if I've taken the cut far enough. There we go. Jobs like this, these little paper snips really come into their own. They are superb. Okay, so that's what I do all the way round to get my flower cut out. Okay, so we just imagine that it's all been cut. What I do next is I paint it with my Wink of Stella, and this bit I do paint all of the flower, because apart from the centre where the rhinestone or the pearl is going to go, everything is going to be seen, unlike the triple flowers where they're all layered, so it's got quite a large area that won't be seen. So I don't really see the point of painting Wink of Stella on all of it, so I'll show you how I cheat on that one. Okay, so just all the petals all the way round, and then all the centre. Okay, so that's what I do for my large flower. And then for these I just curl the edges. Okay, bearing in mind I should have 3 here, but all of mine are sitting over there waiting. They've all been done. When you put these flowers together, you have a choice. You can either alternate all the petals as you lay them on top of each other, or you can make them lay straight on top of each other. For example, this is a card that I actually showed on my blog, and as you can see I did it the other way round. I put the big flower at the bottom. But if you look at the flowers, you'll see that all the petals are on top of each other, whereas this one, all the petals have been alternated. Now personally I prefer this one where they're all alternated, but you do have a choice. Okay, so I'm going to put these together using Tombow. And I'm lining my petals to go in between up at the top here, and then I'm checking down the bottom to make sure they've gone in between as well. It's very easy to get the top 2 in between, but then find that you've got the bottom ones actually on top of the lower ones. And then this one, this has only got half the amount of petals as that, so you need to leave a gap of 2 petals between. Okay, so you've got, that makes it look like bunny's ears now. Okay, so you've got the 2 tall petals in between there, and just make sure you've got the same down at the bottom as well. That's it. Now, as I say, I want this painted with Wink of Stella, but you don't need to do all of it. So what I do is I just use my point and go in on the bit that's going to be exposed. Do that on that layer as well. Not sure you can see that, so shall I zoom in? There we go. So what I'm doing is just painting on the inside like that, and then on the inside for that one as well. It's easy doing this, doing it like this. It saves on your pen, your glitter pen, because they're not cheap, I have to agree. Although I do think they're worth every penny. That's probably a contradiction. I'm probably contradicting myself there. She says thinking about it. Right, there we go. Okay. Let's see if I can hold this up to show all the sparkle. Yes, look at that. There we go. Right, let me zoom you out again. Right. So that's my large one that was done, and this is 2 of my smaller ones done. So what I'll do first, I'm going to put this onto my card. Now there's no easy way of saying how to measure this. It really is a question of eyeballing it. The only thing I can really say is, one, this looks better if you've got a fairly steep rise. That one wasn't so steep, and I don't think that that looked quite as nice. But when you do this, make sure that your edges, like this one here, make sure that it comes onto the edge of your white piece there. And over this side again, make sure that this comes at least to the edge there. We're going to cut pieces off just to trim it, but that's fine, that's what you want. So let me show you. As I say, the angle you use is entirely up to you. But I do prefer a sharper angle. Okay, so making sure that that comes off over the edge there. That is all definitely well over the edge. Check the gap you have here, the gap you have here, whatever you feel looks a good gap. Okay, so that's that one. I don't know, that probably looks about the same sort of angle. So now, before that sticks down to my grid paper, what I need to do now, turn it over and cut these pieces off. This is a lot easier if you're using snail or fast fuse. But it's not impossible to do if you've used Tombow like me. There we go. Alright. Let's just make sure that's not going to cause me any problems. Oh, and that one. But where's my scrap again? I'll just put that down to keep it clean. Right, so the next bit I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere this onto there. Just make sure, like you make sure your card's opening the right way, make sure you've got the writing up the right way as well on this. There we go. And then for my flowers, just make sure that the petals are coming up nicely. then I'm going to pop them on with Tombow. My first card that I made like this, I actually put all the flowers on with dimensionals, and it really didn't look right, or at least I didn't think it looked right. They almost looked as if they were detached from the design of the card. Really quite peculiar. Right, to line these up, what I do is I do the first one and the last one, and I make them so that they don't actually come off the edge here, just towards the end. And then once that one's done, I put this one in the centre. And then with the large one, I put it up here. There we go. Right, with this card, I've used pearls in the centre. This one, it's a remnant from, I think it was something called Artisan something or other, but it is a Stampin' Up one. We don't sell them that big at the moment, I don't think. If I'm wrong about that, I'll put a note on the screen and a note in the box below. And this one, I used our metal rim pearls, and I really like this, but unfortunately I've run out, so I don't have enough to put those on. And this one, which is the rich raspberry one, I've used the iced rhinestones, so that looks quite nice, but I do prefer pearls. So I have another one of these really large ones, and then I'm using the normal size. Oops. Right, you can go back down there again. Never fails to amaze me the difference that adding pearls to your card, what the difference it makes, pearls and rhinestones. There we go. So that's today's card. I hope you like it. Let me get all the rubbish out of the way so that you can see all 4 designs. Lots of different options here. The way you arrange your flowers, whether you do rhinestones or pearls, whether you do the big flower at the top or at the bottom. Lots of options to choose from. Let me just zoom that out a little bit more. There we go. So I hope you like it, and I hope you give it a try. Many thanks for watching my video. If you have any questions, please contact me. I'm always very happy to help you. If you've enjoyed my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button. If you'd like to purchase any of the products that I featured here, please click on the 24/7 link that's in the box below, and that'll take you straight to my 24/7 online Stampin' Up shop. I will put all the products and the catalogue numbers and the measurements of all the cardstock on the screen, but depending on what device you're watching this on, they may not appear, so you can find them in the box below. Many thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting. Cheerio.